Okay, welcome back. This tutorial is on finding the subtext. I believe that this may be one of the more difficult things that readers have to do when they read historical text. Uh, so hopefully at the end of this video you get a little bit better sense of what subtext is, and you're able to find the subtext when you're reading historical documents. So here are the goals for this tutorial. The first one is you obviously have to be able to define the meaning of subtext, and then determine the subtext in historical text. And to do that, you're going to have to do three sub-goals. And the first one is you have to know that texts provide insight into how authors think about the world. And then the other thing here is you have to examine how the author characterizes different historical actors. And then you're going to have to generate some inferences. So in determining the subtext, it's an inference. It's not simply reading the text. You're going to have to generate an inference. Another goal for this tutorial is explain how to detect the author's worldview. And that means you have to be able to describe how you go about determining the author's worldview from reading the text. And the last one is state one way that you think the world works. You kind of check your own worldview here with this goal. So let's get started here and begin with the question, what is a subtext? And I think the best way to go about defining subtext is through the metaphor of an iceberg. In this image you'll see that a small portion of the iceberg is above the surface, and that primarily the largest mass of the iceberg is below the surface where it's not seen. So really the subtext is the meaning below the surface of the text, and this is where a lot of the meaning is, and good readers consider subtext. So to give you a little bit more background information on the subtext, it is the author's worldview, which is similar to saying how the author thinks the world works. These are the ideas and belief the author has about the world. In particular, how people should act, what's important in the world. Those are ways of thinking about subtext. And another thing beyond the simple definition is that these worldviews help people to interpret the world and take action in the world. And you'll see that as we continue this tutorial. So let me give you a simple example of subtext. We can look at this simple statement, poor people are lazy. And here in this image you'll see a poor person without a job laying on the ground, and it's easy to interpret that this person may be lazy. He should be out working. But that's not the point of a subtext. The subtext is really the person who said it. That's the focus of a subtext. We're not really concerned about the poor people when we're reading for subtext. We're concerned with the person who said it, and it's the person down here on the right. So the focus of subtext is on the author or the person who said it. So that's right, I said it. So what we can do to get at the subtext of that statement, poor people are lazy, we can start asking some questions. So one question that we could ask is, why are people poor? And this person that said it would probably answer something like, I believe that they're lazy. Okay, that's pretty straightforward from that simple sentence. Let's ask another question here. What is the reason why so many people live in poverty? And this person would again rely on this idea of laziness. I believe that laziness is the reason. Okay, let's go a little bit further here and ask another question. How does someone get out of poverty? And this same person's worldview would cause them to respond something like this. They should get a job. So if we look at those three questions and draw a conclusion, this person might say that to get people out of poverty, you know, they need to stop being lazy, get an education, and go out and find work. That may be, some conclusions we can draw based on that simple statement: poor people are lazy. Uh, so, this is just a simple example. Don't read too much into it. So let's stop for a second here and ask two questions, and hopefully you get these right, and that will be a sign that you get the meaning of the subtext. So when reading to find a subtext, we are interested in knowing about the author, true or false. And the next question is, when reading to find a subtext, we are interested in knowing about the historical event, true or false. So respond to those. You can obviously pause at any point in these videos, but I'm going to move on, and I'll get you those answers a little later. So we really move into the next part now that we've just defined the meaning of subtext. And here I want to ask the question, how do you find the subtext? And there's probably a number of ways to go about this, but I'm going to focus in on one here. And that is to pay attention to how the author characterizes different historical actors in relation to other historical actors. Again, characterize means to paint certain historical actors in certain ways. If we look at the last statement, poor people are lazy, from that we could say that that author is characterizing poor people as being lazy. And that would be in relation to other historical actors who might be hard workers and who are successful. Okay, so we're trying to look and see how is the author painting different people in history. So let's get into a historical text that we've read in class. And this is a text Columbus wrote to King Ferdinand in relation to his first voyage. And so I'll read it out loud, and the text in blue is what I'm going to focus in on in order to come up with a worldview, or the subtext, I'm sorry. And here we go. So these people are very simple as regards to use of arms, as your highnesses will see from the 7 that I caused to be taken, to bring home and learn our language, and return, unless your highnesses should order them all to be brought to Castile, or to be kept as captives on the same island. For with 50 men they can all be subjugated and made to do what is required of them. Okay, so this text will allow us to get at Columbus's worldview, or at least a part of it. So let's move on here. So the way that we're going to go about generating the subtext is by asking questions that help us to get at the characterization of historical actors. So how does Columbus characterize, I spelled that wrong, the king and queen of Spain? And here Columbus uses the word highnesses, indicating that the king and queen of Spain are above all other people. The word highnesses was used in that time period to indicate that the king and queen are the highest members in society. So here Columbus's words are helping us to see, yes, these are the highest people in society. And that's Columbus's worldview. So the next question, again, I'm still staying with the same text, and the next question to look at here is, how does Columbus characterize the Native Americans in relation to the highnesses? Okay, and here Columbus uses the words order them all, and this is really indicating that the king and queen have the power to control all the Native Americans. And these three words, help us to see that Columbus is characterizing Native Americans as people who can be controlled, who are inferior to the Spanish. So now in these two questions that help us to really pay attention to how the Spanish are being characterized and how the Native Americans are being characterized, we can come up with the Columbus's worldview, or in this case, the subtext of this original primary source. So, the first claim that I can make, or the first inference that I'm generating, is Columbus believes that the king and queens have all the power. That's clear by his use of the word highness. The other thing that we conclude here, or infer, Columbus believes that Europeans are superior or better than Native Americans. And this is, I'm only using the blue text to get there. I think you can draw on the other part of the text to support these claims. The other thing is the Spanish have the power and authority to order or control the Native Americans. Okay, so if you look at these closely, this is the subtext. This is the meanings that are underneath the surface of Columbus's words in the text. At this point, what I'd like you to do is to take a look at the text and see if you can look for other textual evidence that would support any one of these three claims, and highlight it and then tell why it supports one of these claims. And I think that winds up this tutorial. If you have any questions, post them to the blog. If you don't understand something here, you might want to try to rewind it and hear it again, or ask me in class. Thanks for listening. I'll see you later. Bye.